Hello everyone, my name is Hiramusavir Khan and we are going to learn parts of speech in German language. We all know that learning parts of speech is a very important aspect in learning any language because it provides you with the basic structure of the language that you are going to speak or you are going to learn. So, just like English or any other language, German language also have parts of speech. But the difference is that English language have 8 parts of speech and German language have 10 parts of speech. Now, interestingly, these parts of speech are categorized into two categories. One is inflectable and the other is uninflectable. If we talk about the inflectable parts of speech, so these are the words that can change their forms according to their grammatical features like number, case, gender, tense, etc. Now they can be conjugable and declinable. Secondly, we have uninflectable parts of speech, which simply means that these are the words that do not change according to their grammatical feature. So now let's start discussing 10 different parts of speech in German language. German parts of speech includes adjectives, adverbs, interjections, conjunctions, articles, noun, preposition, pronoun, verbs, and numerals. So first we are going to discuss inflectable parts of speech, declinable words. Number 1 is noun, which is called nomen or substantive in German language. So we already know that noun is the name of any person, place, animal, or thing. They are always capitalized in German language. So here we have some examples, that is Hund, which means dog, and Katze, which means cat. Now there is a sentence that is Der Hund bellt laut, which means the dog barks loud. So the noun can be distinguished between concrete noun and abstract noun. We already know that concrete noun is something that can we perceive with our 5 senses, like the table, which they call Tisch, a car, which they call auto, dog, Hund, butch, book. So these are all the material that we can see, we can touch, we can feel them. So that's why they are called concrete noun. And second is abstract noun. So we know that abstract noun is an idea, quality, or state that is not concrete, that we cannot touch, we cannot physically touch it, like Freiheit, which means freedom, Glück, which means happiness, Hoffnung, which means hope. Further, we can see that how noun is used in different ways in sentences. It can be used as subject, object, attribute, or adverbial. So it is another grammatical feature that noun is genderized. There is masculine, feminine, and neutral as well. So first is dear, we use it with masculine nouns. Die, we use it with feminine nouns, and das, we use it with neutral nouns. But the point to be noted is that all of them means the. Now next we have articles. We know articles are a, an, and the. So I have already told you that der, das, and die means the. There is another word which is ein, which means a or an. Now in German language the articles are differentiated into two types. The one is definite articles and other is indefinite articles. Now let's see definite and indefinite articles a bit closely. So definite articles are those that are translated to the in English. Just like English, they are used in German language to show something specific or previously mentioned nouns. On the other hand, we have indefinite articles which can be translated into a or an in English. And just like English language, they are used to refer non-specific or previously unmentioned nouns. So in German language, definite articles are dir, die, and das. Dir with masculine, die with feminine, and das with neutral. Next we have indefinite articles in which first is ein, which is used with masculine. Now second is eine, which is used with feminine, and ein again, which is used with neutral gender. So now we are going to learn numerals and verbs. So firstly we have numerals, which we call Numeralien in German. They represent a specified number or amount and are also used for temporal indicators. In some instances, they can be utilized like pronouns. Some numerals are declinable and can be inflected. Here we have some examples. Fünf, which means 5, Viel, which means many, and 1000, which means 1000. Here you can see that we are talking about the amount or quantity of objects. Now let's talk about the usage of numerals. Here you can see there are 7 usages of numerals: cardinal numerals, ordinal, multiplicative, alliterative, fractional, collective, and indefinite. Let's see them a bit closely. First, we have cardinal numerals. Cardinal numerals are numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the example, you can see it's written that I have bought 3 books. In this, 3 is cardinal numeral. Secondly, we have ordinal numerals. In ordinal numerals, we speak numbers like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. In the example, we can see that they have bought a second car now. So, second is ordinal numeral. Then we have multiplicative numerals. In this type of numerals, we use numbers like 3 times, 4 times, 8 folds, 10 folds, etc. In the example, you can see that you have to take 3 times the amount of flour for the cake. Here, 3 times is multiplicative numeral. Then we have alliterative numerals. In this type of numerals, we use numbers like once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 20 times, etc. In the example, you can see she stumbled twice. So here, twice is alliterative numeral. Then we have fractional numerals. In fractional numerals, we use numbers in fraction like 8, third, half, 1/4, etc. For example, the half pound of coffee is on sale. So here, half pound is fractional numeral. Now, sixth is collective numbers. In this type, we use numbers in both, the two, a dozen, a pair, etc. For example, unfortunately, both players were not lucky and lost. So here, both is collective number as we are using number in this way. Now, moving on to the seventh and last one, indefinite numbers. In this type, we use numbers in some, quite a few, a bit, only, etc. So for example, some civil servants work only part time. So here, only is indefinite number. Now, the part of speech we are going to talk about are inflectable conjugable words. So here we have verbs, which we call verben in German language. So we already know that verbs are action words. They describe any action happening. So same is the case in German language as well. We have some examples. One is trinken, which means to drink. Gehen, to means to go. All right, so here we have types of verbs. There are main verbs, auxiliary verbs, modal verbs, copular verb, personal verb, and impersonal verbs. We also have forms of verbs here like finite and non-finite, just like in English. Then we have grammatical features. The first is person. That is first person, second person, and third person. We have already studied all of these in English since our childhood, so we already know what these things are, so it's not a big deal. Now second is tenses, which is present, past, and future. We have moods, which is indicative, subjunctive, and imperative. And lastly, we have voice, which is active and passive. In order to learn these grammatical features deeply, you will have to see some other videos in which you will get to know each of these grammatical features in deep. Now let's discuss adjectives. Adjectives are the words that describe and modify nouns or verb in more detail. Almost all adjectives are inflectable, and in particular they are declinable. Here we have 2 examples of adjectives. One is klein, which means small, and other is schnell, which means fast. So both of them are adjectives, we already know. Adjectives can be used in 3 different ways. In terms of spellings, they are always written in lowercase. There are some of the usages of adjectives. Number 1 is attributive use. Adjectives are declined based on the gender, number, and the case of the noun they describe. For example, the big tree is in the garden. So here we are telling attribute or the quality of the tree, that it's big. Secondly, we have predicative use. Adjectives following the noun are not declined in this. For example, the car is new. So here we can see that adjectives followed by noun are not declined here. Alright, thirdly we have adverbial use. In adverbial use, adjectives can also describe verbs indicating manner or degree. For example, she laughs loudly. Here we are describing the degree of her laughter. So this is what is adverbial use of adjective. Adjectives can also be compared in German. Some follow regular comparison pattern, while others are irregular. So first is regular comparison, which includes er at the end, like fast, faster, fastest. So this is the regular type of comparison. Schnell, schneller, schnellsten. So this is fast, faster, and fastest. Secondly, we have irregular comparison, good, better, and best. Here we can see that the pronunciation and all the sound and complete word has been changed in this type of comparison. Good is changed into better and best. So this is irregular type of comparison. So gut, besser, and besten. Good, better, and best. This is what we call it in German language. Now, thirdly, we have nominalization. Here we have a sentence, Das Wichtigste Geduld, which means the most important thing is patience. Here, Wichtigste is capitalized because it refers to a noun. Now, let's move on to pronouns, which we call pronomen in German language. Now here we have the types of pronoun. Number one is personal pronoun, in which we talk about ourselves or he, she, it, we, etc. Secondly, we have possessive pronouns, in which we tell about the possession of anything like my, mine, etc. Now thirdly, we have demonstrative pronoun, in which we demonstrate something like the same, self, this, such, etc. Reflexive pronouns, in which we use words like yourself, himself, herself, ourselves. Fifthly, we have reciprocal pronouns, in which we use words like each other, one another, etc. Then relative pronouns, in which we use words like who, whose, whom, which, etc. Then interrogative pronouns like who, what, which, whom, etc. Then indefinite pronouns, in which we use words like all, others, everybody, etc. So this was all about pronouns and adjectives. So now let's discuss uninflectable parts of speech. So first one is adverb. Adverb is called adverbian in German language. So as we already know that adverbs are the words that describe how, when or where something happens. They provide more detail about verbs, adjectives, other adverbs or entire sentences in German. Alright, in German, adverbs are written in lowercase and are not declined or inflected. There are some types of adverbs as well. Number one is local adverbs, temporal adverbs, modal adverbs, and casual adverbs. So here we have some examples of adverbs in German language, in which first is schnell, which means quickly, and leise, which means quietly. Now let's move on to preposition, which we call prepositionen in German language. So prepositions are words that mark relations and connections between persons and things. Therefore, they are called Verhaltensworte in German grammar. They belong to the group of particles and are not inflected. Prepositions are neither constituents of a sentence nor grammatical modifiers, which we call attributes, but they are always part of them. Here we have some general distinctions, which is local preposition, temporal preposition, modal preposition, and casual preposition. So here we have some examples, in which an, which means on, unter, which means under, and zwischen, which means between. So here you can also see these cute owls showing all of these prepositions. Now let's move on to our ninth part of speech, which is conjunctions or conjunctionen in German language. So we already know conjunctions are the words that connect clauses, sentences, or words. They are used to link ideas and show relationships between different parts of a sentence. In German, conjunctions can be divided into several categories based on their functions. Number one is coordinating conjunction, number two is subordinating conjunction, and number three is correlative conjunctions. Here we have some examples of conjunctions, that is denn, which means because, and number two is sonder, which means but, rather, and number three is obwohl, which means although. Now we have our last part of speech, that is interjection or interjectionen in German language. Interjections are super easy. These are the words that are used in conversations to express feelings or get the attention of the listener. They have no syntactic function and are therefore not inflected. They typically stand before a sentence and are separated by a comma. Now here are some examples, that is hurrah, which means hooray, igit, which means yuck, oof, which means phew. So this was all about parts of speech in German language. So let's move on to the next topic.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mishal Fatima and I am from third semester BS English. So my topic is types of tenses in German. Introduction. In total, the German language has 6 different tenses which are used to describe events and action from the past, present and future. In other words, the tenses you will choose depend on when the event or action you are describing is actually taking place. So there are 6 tenses. 1. Present tense, past simple tense, present perfect tense, past perfect tense, future 1 and future 2. Present tense. The present tense is perhaps the simplest of all the tenses. Just like in English, we use the present tense to talk about something that is happening in the present. For example, ich koche, I cook. It, ich here is the pronoun means I. Koche means cook, which is the verb. One thing to remember is that German doesn't have a progressive tense. There is only one present tense in the German which you can use to express both a simple action and a continuous action. To put it simply, both I live and I am living can be translated as ich wohne. There is no extended form of the present tense like in English. Now look at some example on how to conjugate a regular German verb in present tense. Ich koche. I cook or I am cooking. Du kochst. You cook or you are cooking. Here, the word du means you pronoun, which means a pronoun you. Kochst means cook. Wir kochen means we cook or we are cooking. Instead of kohe and kohest, we have used verb kohen with the ver. Ihr koches means you cook or you are cooking. Now let's talk about past simple tense. Past simple tense is mostly used in the written German. Other than some common and auxiliary verbs such as sein or habe, you will rarely hear this form in spoken English. To conjugate a regular verb in past tense, simply add the following endings after the stem. Ich kochte. Te is used with the pronoun ich. So instead of saying ich koche, we will use ich kochte, means I cooked. Du kochtest means you cooked. Instead of saying kohe, here we use the test, test, with the verb. Wir kochten. We cooked. Let's talk about present perfect. The present perfect is one of the most frequently used German tenses. Use this tense if you want to talk about something that has happened to you or has happened to you in the past. To conjugate a verb in perfect, you will need to use an auxiliary verb and a past participant of the verb you are trying to conjugate. There are 2 helping verbs you will need to choose from, sein and habe. Most verbs used are habe. So let's see how to conjugate a regular verb in perfect. Ich habe gekocht means I cooked or I have cooked. Du hast gekocht means you cooked or you have cooked. Wir haben gekocht means we have cooked. Ihr habt gekocht means you cooked or you have cooked. Now let's talk about past perfect tense. Much like English, German also has a past perfect tense. While this isn't one of the more frequent used German tenses, it is still important to be aware of it, as you may still come across it. You can use past perfect when talking about an event that had happened before and other event that is also happened in the past. To conjugate a verb in past perfect is similar to conjugating a verb in the present perfect. Both of these German tenses need a helping verb having or in the and the past participle. When conjugating a verb in past perfect tense, remember to use the past simple form of helping verb. Past simple form of helping verb. Let's see how to conjugate a regular verb in past perfect. Ich hatte gekocht means I had cooked. Du hattest gekocht means you had cooked. Wir hatten gekocht means we had cooked. Ihr hattet gekocht, you had cooked. So these were the examples. Now let's talk about the future tense. The future tense indicates action that will happen in the future. Conjugating a verb in future tense is relatively simple in the German. You only need the verb werden and the infinitive form of a verb you are trying to conjugate. Now let's look at some example. Ich werde kochen. Here the werde is the helping verb and kohen is an informative in kohen is an infinitive form of the verb. So ich werde kochen means I will cook. Du wirst kochen means you will cook. Wir werden kochen means we will cook. Ihr werdet kochen means you will cook. So now let's talk about last future perfect tense or future two. So the future perfect tense is one of the least frequently used German tense. You will rarely come across it in day-to-day life. However, it is still important to be aware of it. In German, future perfect is used when you want to refer to an event that will have happened before the event in the future. So, to conjugate a verb in future perfect in German, these are the rules that you need to follow. First, the correct conjugating form of werden in the present tense, the past participant of the verb you are trying to conjugate, and the correct helping verb having is in its infinitive form. Now let's look at some example that will clear the concept. Ich werde gekocht haben. I will have cooked. Du wirst gekocht haben. You will have cooked. Wir werden gekocht haben. We will have cooked. Ihr werdet gekocht haben means you will have cooked. These were the example of the future perfect tense. Now we have discussed all the tenses in German language. Let's look at other things that are necessary to remember. So now that we have gone all over the six of the German tenses, there are still a couple of things that you need to know to be able to conjugate a verbs correctly. Here is what you should look out for. Here is what you should look for. Separable verbs. Some German verbs comes with the separable prefix. For example, the verb aufstehen, aufstehen, to get up, is separable verb. This means that when you are conjugating a verb such as aufstehen, you need to take the prefix of the verb and put it separately at the end of clause. So here are some examples. Ich höre zu. The zu here is the prefix part of the verb, means I listen or I am listening. Simple past, ich hörte zu, I listened. Present perfect, ich habe zugehört, means I have listened. Past perfect, ich hatte zugehört, means I had listened. While this may somewhat complicate things for us German learners, it's still an important thing to keep in mind when you are conjugating a verb. I will add the table here that you can use whenever you see a verb with one of these. Refer to the table above the above to conjugate a verb correctly. So now let's talk about German tenses and word order. One thing the German language is known for is its strict rules when it comes to the word order. As you may have noticed, German language is known for its strict rules. As you may have noticed that German tenses need more than one component. These are present perfect, past perfect, future perfect tenses. When you use one of these tenses in a sentence, you need to remember this one simple rule. In a declarative clause, the conjugated verb, in this case the helping verb, always takes the second position. The other components, on the other hand, always go to the end of the clause. This rule always holds for any declarative clauses. For example, wir werden ins Kino gehen means we will go to the cinema. That's it for today. I hope the concept of six tenses is clear. Along with six tenses of German language, we also have discussed about some other things that we need to remember, such as word order and many more things. The video ends here. Thank you.
Satzstruktur, sentence structure. Let's start learning objects. We begin with most important parts of sentence: subject and verb, position of verb, types of questions, and exercise. Let's start. Ich heiße Monika. Here is subject ich and verb is heiße. Let's analyze this sentence. So it is subject and heiße is verb. The subject conjugate the verb. Let's analyze another sentence we already done. Ich wohne in Berlin. Again, ich is subject and wohne is verb. The basic rule of sentence formation of German is that the verb in second position. There are the few exceptions we are learning later. Now is your turn to analyze this sentence. So what do you think? Where is the verb and what's the subject? It is subject and bin is verb in second position. Now let's move on different type of questions. First one is W questions. Questions starting with W. We, Vensha, was, wo, vohinia, we feel, and many more W fragan. Let's analyze the W fragan. Wo, vohinen, Z. Here is the subject is Z and the verb is vohinen. Structure Trial 2. In this video, we will focus on three pronouns, it, do, and Z, the verb ending, and we learn how to conjugate the verb according to this pronoun, it, do, and Z. We will be conjugate the video with exercise. So, let's begin with three very common sentences. Ich, hisia, Martin, wo wohnen Sie, whoever comest du. So let's pick up the pronoun in each of this sentence. Ich, sie, and du. Let's pick up the three pronouns and analyze them. Ich, sie, du. Ich, I, see you, do, you. First person, ich, and the second person, see and do. I am talking about myself. Like, now let's come to the verb conjugation. Ich wohne in Berlin. The subject is ich and how just concentrate the verb conjugation ending has been highlighted. And the second sentence, wo wohnen Sie. The subject is Sie and the ending of the conjugating is highlighted. Coming to the third sentence, wo wohnes du. The subject is do verb conjugating highlighted. The ending depends on the subject we use. As you have noticed, the verb ending ich is e, the verb ending en with z, and the verb ending with do is d. Imperative sentence. Here are the learning object of this lesson. What is imperative? When to use imperative? How to build imperative? And finally special verb. So first we need to understand what is imperative definition. A sentence with imperative gives us an advice or an instruction or expresses a command or a request. Here are the few examples of sentence in English. Drive carefully, eat your vegetables, close the door. Please listen to me. These are the few examples in English using imperative. Such sentence begin typically with a verb, they end mostly with an exclamation mark. And when done, usage. The first and the most common use of imperative is for request, better.
Shifa Faisal, and the topic of my presentation is types of sentences in German language. The contents I am going to share in my presentation are basic building blocks of German sentence structure, main types of sentences, and word order in German language. Introduction. This presentation will guide you through the essential components and various types of sentences in German, providing you with the solid foundation for constructing grammatically correct and effective sentences. Moving forward, we can see that here is a topic of basic building blocks. Understanding the basic building blocks of German sentence structure is essential for constructing grammatically correct sentences. The primary components are the subject, verb, and object. Subject. The definition of subject is the person, place, thing, or idea that the sentence is about. Position. In German language, the subject is in the nominative case, usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. For example, we can see that in the sentence, the dog barks. Dog is the subject and it is at the beginning of a sentence. The woman reads a book. The woman is at the beginning. Next is verb. Definition. The verb indicates the action or state of being that the sentence describes. For position in German, the verb is placed in the second position of the sentence right after the subject. For example, the cat sleeps. We are learning German. Object receive the action of the verb. There are two main types of German objects in German language: direct object and indirect. Direct object, the person or thing directly affected by the action. It is in the accusative case. For example, I see the dog. She is eating an apple. Indirect object, the person or thing that indirectly benefits from the action. It is in the dative case. For example, I give the book to the man. We give our friend flowers. Main types of sentences. This is the second topic. It includes the simple sentences, contains a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object or extra information. The verb always comes at the second. For example, we can see that he drinks water. So the verb is in the second place. The dog sleeps. These are the simple sentences. They contain a verb, a subject, and the object. Compound sentences. These sentences join two simple sentences using conjunctions like and, or, but, for. Each part has its own subject and verb. For example, she eat pizza and she drinks juice. I eat pizza and she drinks juice. We go to the museum but he stays at home. In these examples, you can see that two separate sentences are being combining together. Complex sentences includes a main clause and a dependent clause. The dependent clause starts with words like because, that, whether. In the dependent clause, the verb goes to the end. For example, I go to bed because I am tired. She says that he is friendly. Interrogative sentences used to ask a question can be a yes no question where the verb comes first, or a question starting with the question word like what, who, where. For example, are you going today? Where is the train station? Passive sentences focuses on the action and the object rather than who is performing the action. Formed using the form of word like to become and the past participle of the main verb. If the performer of the action is mentioned, it is introduced by or through. For example, the car is being repaired. The cake was baked by my mother. The third one is word order. It is the main structure. The first in word order is time, manner, place. When discussing how and where something happens, the order is typically time, manner, place. For example, you can see that in the morning she quickly drinks coffee in the kitchen. In the summer we travel by car to the sea. The next is inversion of emphasis. Emphasize different parts of sentence by changing the usual order, often placing something than the subject at the beginning. For example, tomorrow my mother is coming for a visit, and in the park the children are playing today. So in these sentences you can see in the first one the time is placed at the beginning, and in the second example in the park the children are playing, so the location, the place is placed at the beginning of a sentence. Number third is position of adverb and adverbial phrases. Adverbs and adverbial phrases typically go in the middle of the sentence after the verb but before the object. For example, she always worked diligently. Always is the adverb and it is placed in the middle. We sometimes eat pizza. Conclusion. In summary, mastering German sentence structure involves understanding subjects, verbs, and objects as well as different sentence types like simple, compound, complex, interrogative, and passive sentences. Correct word order, including time, manner, place, sequencing, and strategic use of inversion and adverbs, play a crucial role in effective communication. These elements collectively support clear and precise expression in both spoken and written German. Thank you for listening my presentation. Hope you will like it.
In this video, we will explain the maximum 10 nouns of German language with their English translation. First word of noun in German language is Haus. In English, we say it house. Second word in German language is Tisch. In English, we say it table. Third word in German language is Auto. In English, we say it car. Fourth word in German language is Fenster. In English, we say it window. Fifth word in German language is Buch. In English, we say it book. Sixth word in German language is handy. In English, we say it mobile phone. Seventh word in German language is garden. In English, we say it garden. Eighth word in German language is Geld. In English, we say it money. Ninth word in German language is Geschenk. In English, we say it gift. 10th word in German language is Arbeitszimmer. In English, we say it study. In this video, we will explain the maximum 10 pronouns of German language with their English translation. So the first word of pronoun in German language is ich. In English, we say it I. So the second word in German language is du. In English, we say it you. Third word in German language is er. In English, we say it he. Fourth word in German language is sie. In English, we say it she. Fifth word in German language is es. In English, we say it it. Sixth word in German language is wir. In English, we say it we. Seventh word in German language is ihr. In English, we say it her. Eighth word in German language is mine. In English, we say it my. Ninth word in German language is sein. In English, we say it his. 10th word in German language is unser. In English, we say it our. In this video, we will explain the maximum 10 verbs of German language with their English translation. The first word of verb in German language is sein. In English, we say it to be. Second one in German language is haben. In English, we say it to have. Third word in German language is werden. In English, we say it to become. Fourth word in German language is machen. In English, we say it to do or to make. Fifth word in German language is können. In English, we say it can or to be able to. Sixth word in German language is sagen. In English, we say it to say. Seventh word in German language is gehen. In English, we say it to go. Eighth word in German language is wissen. In English, we say it to know. Ninth word in German language is wollen. In English, we say it to want. 10th word in German language is kommen. In English, we say it to come.
In this video, we will explain the 10 adjectives of German language with their English translation. So the first word in German language is schön. In English, we say it beautiful. Second word in German language is gut. In English, we say it good. Third word in German language is ah. In English, we say it old. Fourth word in German language is jung. In English, we say it young. Fifth word in German language is schnell. In English, we say it fast. Sixth word in German language is langsam. In English, we say it slow. Seventh word in German language is klug. In English, we say it clever. Eighth word in German language is lustig. In English, we say it funny. Ninth word in German language is glücklich. In English, we say it happy. 10th word in German language is unglücklich. In English, we say it unhappy.